Everybody, 1,284 days. And let me check to make sure that everything is working. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Thank you for, the numbers are going up, and that's what we want because we need the politics. We need the people's power, right? We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And so we need to be by the people, for the people, to further this information because there's murderers on the loose. They are murderers, and they're up to no good. And they will absolutely use their powers. This is an abuse of powers, like you've never seen before, that they would um, use their politics and their offices to commit murder, to commit major crimes in order to direct the politics in their communities, or that they need in order to fulfill a business plan, in order to pad their pockets with, you know, with money so that they can have power and say so in their elite groups, rise to the top, and whatever desire um, they have for power, they will do. They look at us. Absolutely, there is not a doubt in my mind anymore. They look at us as pawns. We're little people, and they look at us like that. I don't believe that we are that. Um, I try to just be very humble, but they look at us that we are absolutely disposable. We live in a disposable culture. And so they look at us as we're disposable. That's why I'm very against abortion, because I feel like they use young women and young men and for whatever creams or whatever they want to make. It's really just horrible, horrendous when you look into it. We're not disposable. We are not products. We are human beings. And they've done whatever they could to, with $34 trillion, we should have the most beautiful families, the most beautiful communities, the most amazing um, buildings, architecture, um, bridges, roads. Uh, we should have amazing vehicles. Uh, we should be able to have free power and water coming out of at least copper, if not gold faucets, to give us minerals that just make us really healthy. We should have all of that for $34 trillion in debt. We should have it all. $34 trillion is so much money. But what do we have? Continuous war and these criminals going around with their sex cults, destroying, with their pedophilia and destroying our military, scaring us with nonsensical germ theory and trying to hypnotize us with very boring, stupid Darwin's theory that is absolutely racist, absolutely racist. And I've hated it for a long, long time. And yes, I like to use the word hate. I hate Darwin's theory because it is just a tool for racism and, yeah, to dehumanize the population, the people, to think that they just come from some kind of accident, some kind of chaotic soup. And that is not the case at all. We are beautifully, wonderfully designed. Our bodies are energetic, magnetic. That's why we wear those copper bracelets and um, all kinds of medicine can be very, very incredible. That's why even in Chinese medicine, our eldest daughter studied Chinese medicine with the energies, the chi, and all of that in the body was just really fascinating. Um, and that's why you can use all the acupuncture and changing the direction, the flow, the energy flow, and everything. It's really amazing. And so, of course, that goes hand in hand with other medicine. It's just one shoe doesn't fit everyone. That's why this whole mandated Cobra strike was so, so, so bad because, some people have heart disease and other people might have um, diabetes. And, some people are young, some people are old, some people uh, just want to risk it, So it's not just one shoe fits all, right? That's not the case at all. And but that's what they were trying to feed us, and we didn't buy it, and so many people didn't buy it, thank God. And so with Richard's case, if we can think outside of the box when it comes to the germ theory, that's nonsense. I like the terrain theory. If we can think outside the box when it comes to um, evolution, which I don't believe in evolution. I believe in intelligent design, a creator. I believe in the triune God, creator of all things, king of the universe. Um, if we can think outside the box in so many different ways, then we can think outside the box in the narrative that these officials were trying to give us. Um, but they're very, very bad liars. They're such bad liars. And so tonight, what I'm going to do is, um, read off a few things that we have been putting together. Of course, we've been writing this book about Find Richard Halliday, to let everyone know uh, the uh, the situation that Richard found himself in, the crimes against Richard, and our pursuit in finding out the truth amongst all the lies and the twisted narratives. And so, of course, the book is not done because we're not finished getting justice for Richard, but we're getting there. We're getting there. It's all in God's timing. So I wanted to read off some of the things that we have been putting together just as like a little summary of why we believe that Richard was murdered, why we believe that he was forcibly removed from his barracks room and interrogated uh, and tortured and murdered, dismembered, and then transported his remains to different locations to hide what they had done. Um, uh, and the reasons, the motives behind that. Why would they do something like that, and who did it? Right? Who do we believe did it, and why would they do that? Well, we know for a fact that Richard was born in Poland, that we adopted him, that he grew up very happy, very safe, in a very moral household in Germany and in Ireland. And, you know, um, this smearing of our family is absolutely lies. And I just want to make that very, very clear. And that's why I always have to put up pictures um, and anyone that knows us that is listening to this, to write testimonies. We already have testimonies, but testimonies for that, because it never stops. You have to keep fighting, especially for the character of your loved one, for the character of your family. Now, they will attack you and try to manipulate your brain because they know that the truth is that there's not one good at all except for God alone. They know that. And um, but I've read a book on Freud, and that little book, little handbook years ago, really came in handy because Freud, what he was trying to do was get rid of Christianity. And how was Freud going to get rid of Christianity? Well, he thought about it, and he thought, okay, if I can just get rid of guilt, then Christians will not feel like they need a redeemer. They will not need a savior, and that is how I can get rid of Christianity. And so instead of confession, he created the couch, right? The chair, the couch, really the couch. Lay down here and tell me all your woes, and I'll tell you that it's not your fault. It's your family's fault. It's your environment's fault. It's people being racist, or people not being homophobic, or being this or being that or whatever. It's everybody else's fault except for yours. Because, and that was that's very easy to do. That's very easy to do. What a great prescription. Was it scientific? Was it helpful? No, absolutely no. Look at all the people that we have that are mentally unhealthy and on medication right now. And it largely is due to Freud getting rid of confession, because confession is the cure of souls. Confession to God, that is. Not to, like on a couch, right? On a couch, and trying to get rid of your guilt and blame it on other people. And so Freud, this little book that I read that is just super, super good. I'll try to dig it out of my shelf. Um, really uh, was life changing. Again, there's so many books that I've read that have been life changing, and that is one. And that is that we all do feel guilty. And even when we have a redeemer, a savior, because of our human nature, it still takes a lot of time to not feel guilty, even though we know that we've been forgiven. You can even pay restitution, you can pay your time, you can ask for forgiveness, you can do whatever to make up for any kind of wrongdoing that you have, and you still have this tinge of guilt inside of you. And people can exploit that. They can exploit it, and they can use it against you. And so this is what is known in these FBI training guides, these CID training guides, these agents. They know that people psychologically can be messed with, and this is one of the ways that they can do it. But when you're made aware that you have that, that's the epistemological self consciousness. You're aware that you have some guilt feelings about, it could be simple little things. It's not anything big, that they could try to manipulate you. They absolutely can. Well, when you're aware of it, you're not so gullible. You're not so easily manipulated. It's kind of like in that Matrix movie. I just watched it recently again. Parts of it, I didn't have time to watch it all, but um, they try to, uh, in this Matrix, use your humanity against you. But once you realize it's a matrix, you can stop the bullets, right? You can stop the bullets. And so this little book absolutely stopped the bullets because, um, you know, absolutely our family is not like a totally sanctified family, only God can do that. But we have a beautiful family, and Richard came into a beautiful family, a very happy family. And, we worked really hard for that. And so when they come in and smear it and they project their absolute degeneracy onto our family, I just have to fight it every day, every day. So I will absolutely tell you that Richard was adopted into a beautiful family, a happy family, a traditional Christian family, very traditional Christian family, celebrating Christmas and Easter and Ash Wednesday, getting the ash cross on our forehead. And, let's abide by God's rules, His Ten Commandments. Let's be nice to each other. Let's leave the place better than we found it, clean up after each other, help each other out, be good Samaritans. The Medal of Honor ethos. Let's strive for the Medal of Honor ethos, right? And for the Christian ethos of glorifying God and enjoying Him forever. What's the chief end of man? You glorify God and enjoy Him forever. That's what you're trying to achieve every day. What have you done? My husband's famous little saying, that is not really his saying, but just the Christian saying, what have you done today to glorify God, right? What have you done? And so that's the family that, not a very rich family. We're not a very rich family, hardworking family. Try very, very hard to stay out of debt as much as we possibly can. And that's the family that Richard was raised in, and it was fun and homeschooling, and we homeschooled, and we were close. We are close, and so when Richard joined the army, I can tell you we were not happy because we know that the army has strayed and does not have those values that it began with. And so we tried to talk him out of it. We tried to even give him $10,000, but he wouldn't be moved. He really wanted to. He thought that that would be a great path to being a investigator, a criminal investigator. That's what he wanted to do. And so as soon as he got in, and Marlon Soto, the dirty agent Marlon Soto. And, too bad that Richard joined the army and had to, the first, the first agent that he had to deal with, when it comes to, I would like to be a CID. I would like to be a CID agent. I would like to be a special agent in the CID. How do I do that? And he had to inquire with a very dirty agent. And Marlon Soto he's so dirty. He's dirty with the FBI. He's dirty with Tavita Nusa. He's dirty in Richard's case. And yeah, and I will say that after over 3 years of advocating for Richard and talking with so many people and getting feedback. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you so much. I have not heard one good thing about the CID. Okay? Out of all the cases, all I hear is how dirty they are, how incompetent they are, how corrupt they are, how that they absolutely are compromised. That is what I hear. And I have to tell you, after 3 years, more than 3 years of doing this, um, that's uh, that's what we're getting also. Tavita Nusa having an affair. You know, he's a married man. He's having an affair. He's a agent in the criminal investigative division of the army. That's a big no-no. You know, because that means he's compromised, and he was absolutely compromised with Leilani Hart. And she was having other affairs at the same time, y'all. You know, it's not like, oh, I love you so much. No, it seems like she was using him, you know. That's my opinion. It really looked like she was using him to get unauthorized access to many different files, and one of those files was Richard's file. She was trying to manipulate her husband with that, get even with her husband with that. There's some reports that she claimed to even want to do bodily harm to her husband. Um, and I'm being nice about this, okay? Because there's a lot of reports out there that we have gotten, um, and so our witness told us that Leilani Hart was having an affair with David Poche. That's why David Poche was compromised. There's other reasons why David Poche is compromised, because we absolutely know that they're both unreliable sources, and El Paso Matters used them to retaliate against a key witness in Richard's case to sabotage the case. So we absolutely know that. So why would they go to that extremes? If only if Richard had been murdered. Okay? Why would they go to these extremes? It's because Richard was murdered. If Richard had walked away, they would never go to these extremes to retaliate against an officer of the court using unreliable sources, jeopardizing their 501c3 tax exempt status. Okay? Think about that. This is millions and millions of dollars that they risked, because they knew that Richard had been murdered. And Richard was reporting on something very, very big, bigger than what he even knew. Because if you report on child protective service violations, or against children, harm against children, if you're reporting to authorities about the weapons smuggling on Fort Bliss, about the human trafficking, about the narcotics trafficking, about the child pornography, which is child torture. If you're reporting on that, that seems really, really bad. And it is really, really serious. It's very serious. But this is even more serious than that, because you have to understand they had corrupt uh, agents that were compromised, that had conflicts of interest in the CID to protect them. They had the uh, FBI supervisory agent Nieto, Eddie Nieto Jr., that's compromised, that has conflicts of interest with Angela Kachurga, with the medical examiner, with Nadal Bayim, the FBI so-called agent and father-in-law um, of the Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 Richards Command, who said that the FBI had found Richard's remains in Mexico. That was corroborated by Agent Macmillan there in the Department of State. Ryan McMillan corroborated that the State Department was looking for Richard's remains in Mexico. And so You know, what does that say? That says that they knew that Richard was deceased and they were looking for remains. And of course, we have these autopsy reports that have remained unanswered to their authenticity, and that is finding Richard's remains there at Red Rio Range, the training area on Fort Bliss, um, and the other two, one in Mexico, and then the other one on El Paso, outside of Fort Bliss. So, three different um, autopsy reports because Richard was dismembered and located in different areas. That's what that says. Okay. Now, so let's we're going through all the people here, and one of the other main players. There's so many main players because you have to think. I just mentioned CID. I just mentioned Department of State. I just mentioned FBI. I just mentioned Lalani Hart, who is, some kind of operative in all of this because her husband works there at the Fort Bliss VA in the uh, on the medical board, the Pablo, right? The uh, Veterans Disability Benefits Health Board. That is really that's a good position to be in. Who in HRC is doing this, right? Um, uh, who's HRC? We know that China Goodwin, I think that's her name. She was HRC. She seems to be connected to this whole thing too. And yeah, uh, so James Hart works. Can manipulate, can tamper with people's percentages as far as getting benefits. And we just saw today in the news this guy for 20 years getting $600,000 plus um, for faking being a disabled veteran. So, who's getting these benefits and who's being controlled by these benefits? Are they deserving of their benefits? We know that Lalani Hard has 100%. So she's making a pretty penny out of all of that. I don't know what her health record is, so I don't know, but I'm just saying we know from the paperwork that that's pretty convenient when your husband sits on the health board, right? And and she's saying that Richard was a code red. So she's saying Richard is a code red, and she's very, very close. We, you know, uh, have it reported to us that she was very, very close to the director of emergency services, Thomas Kane. And Thomas Kane, who's, he's in charge of all the security of Fort Bliss, um, he's alleged to have tampered with the video to get rid of CCTV footage to cover. So now we've mentioned FBI, CID, Department of State, VA Health Board, and now we're mentioning the Director of Emergency Services, right? And he says that Richard, we have him on record, that Richard was a good meal for the coyotes, and that the retaliation against the officer of the court, our key witness, that was attacked, that was targeted by El Paso Matters and David Poche and, of course, Bob Moore and Lalani Hart, and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, right? Um, uh, that lost my train of thought because I'm talking about Thomas Kane, and Thomas Kane said, "Oh yeah, that was retaliation. Um, there was retaliation because of Richard's case." That's what that was. That's what that is. And we have that in writing with his signature that that's retaliation. So this very man that's saying that's the sabotage of Richard's case. It has to do with Richard's case because Richard was a good meal for the coyotes. Okay, so we have, the code red, the good meal for the coyotes, the retaliation of a key witness, the risking of a 501c3, using unreliable sources like Leilani Hart, like David Poche, like Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, to thwart Richard's case, um, and backed up by, uh, Nadal Bayim, the another FBI, to say, they were looking for Richard's remains in Mexico, and then we have, um, the Department of State McMillan, Ryan McMillan, saying, yeah, the FBI are looking for Richard's remains in Mexico, here in Juarez. And then we have Delirious Montanez, who, here she is running for office in El Paso. She is retired, uh, time with the military, Lieutenant Colonel, um, and also CBP, which is Customs Border Protector. All of these people have titles. All of these people have positions. And she's saying, yes, Richard was murdered at kilometer 29. Reported that to the FBI, that's where his body was dumped, and or remains were dumped there, partial remains. She also says the word that she got was partial remains in the United States, partial remains in Mexico. So that is also, um, part of this. And let's go through this some more because we have, more and more people coming out, um, saying these things. This is in my notes to make sure that I remember. Um, we have Angela Kucherga, from El Paso Matters, that spoke with me a couple times. One time for a lengthy time, and she was not concerned at all, with Richard's case. Okay, and uh, because she's compromised with Nieto, the FBI supervisor, because she's compromised with Bob Moore, okay, and they're also compromised with the DA's office, right, with Bill Hicks. And, I want to say all these people's names because it is just absolutely, we haven't even gotten to the Walmart case part of this, right? But the main thing is we've had a lot of people say, well, maybe he's still alive. No. And, this is one of those, let me lay you down on the couch and try to hypnotize you. Let me try to tell you that you come from a chaotic soup. Let me try to tell you that your family is a smeared family. No, no. We have a beautiful family, and we have evidence. We have irregularities, and we have circumstantial evidence that all prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Richard was murdered. And if we don't face that, if he needs to be designated as deceased, um, because then we can really get out there that we're looking for the murderer, okay? The murderers or the murderer. And this is very important. This whole thing with the missing is just a ruse. It's just something like the Darwin's theory that we're a million billion years old, which, if you're math and you understand probability, when you understand, um, that how can you date something millions of billions of years when you don't know all the circumstances? There's so many circumstances that can change results. And what are the variables? And if you haven't, worked on long math problems with all these variables that change things very quickly, then you might fall for the billions of years. I don't fall for the billions of years. Um, it's just ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous that anyone can think that they can date something like that, through mathematics and stuff. They just play games, and it's um, the same thing with the Darwin's theories. Uh, uh, they never had enough time, so they kept changing the dates, more and more and more years, adding more and more years, making it so huge that people were just like, oh, okay, it has to be. But then when you really do the math on it, the probability of this world being as organized as it is would it would it's just impossible to even put a date on it, because the probability is just not there. It was created by a designer, a creator God, right? A triune God at that. And it's by a law word, because everything is law. You know, uh, the stars in the skies declare the glory of God by law. It's all law, right? And so, that's not a chaotic soup. That is very ordered. Everything is very ordered. And so, to live in lies prevents you from getting to the truth, and from getting accountability and moving forward and making the world a better place. And so, when we look at people, I haven't even mentioned Agent Veltri when Quantico came on to take up Richard's case, because uh, Agent Soto was is dirty, right? He's dirty. So they had to shuffle a little, and then they put Richard in um, the serious crimes. I think it's what is it called? Very serious crimes. It has another name, and cold case unit. And they assigned him, this forensics expert. They try to fool you on everything. And they tell us, oh, she's so good, she's a forensic expert, she's a senior special agent in the CID. And you know okay, so let's see what happens. She has never interviewed, neither has Dirty Agent Soto, our key witness. Never. Okay? She has not interviewed our key witness. All right? What kind of special agent is that? She has never, that I know of, never visited the crime scene. Never. And she intimidated a witness, a very important witness. And we have that on record. And yeah, so what kind? That's not a special agent. That's a crooked agent. That's a compromise agent. That is an agent up to no good. An agent up to no good. What is an agent up to no good? That's like someone serving Satan or something like that. She's just up to no good. Okay. And so, why would the CID risk someone's reputation? Because, in my book, in my estimation, and Team Find Richard Halliday that knows what's going on here, her reputation is in the toilet now, right? She's not any kind of forensic expert if she's not going to even visit the crime scene. She's not any kind of special agent if she's not even going to interview a key witness. Um, and then put the people in Team Find Richard Halliday in danger, which he absolutely has. Um, and we're fighting that. We're fighting that. So, she's, dirty agent too. And uh, just, I don't even know if dirty is the right word. She's just an agent for evil, an agent for evil instead of for protecting the Constitution and our soldiers, our service members. So, and then let's get into, some of these bigger guys like Major General Clem Coward. Um, you know, uh, where do I start with that? It's absolutely crazy. I think Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is easier because everyone remembers when, if they're keeping up with this case, when he, by general's orders, held a team Find Richard Halliday, a task force Find Richard Halliday, out of uniform, okay, in their civilian attire, and without an operational order, okay? And we don't even want to get into the canine. So he's so botched. He's a totally cooked, botched general. And who was there with him? Um, we call her Pocahontas because Lieutenant General Donna Martin, out of uniform, was sitting in the middle of the room, Indian style, in the chair. And this is a murdered, at that time, they all knew that Richard was a murdered soldier. But because of Vanessa Guillen, because of Austin Hawke, and you have to realize that Donna Martin was CID then. Now she is the IG of the Army. Okay, she's the IG of the Army. And, think about all the soldiers that are in harm's way because of her being in that position. You know, try try getting justice if you're raped. Try getting justice if you're murdered or bullied or retaliated against. Look at what happened to Glendon Oakley Jr. under her leadership in the CID, because she was CID at that time. And they investigated his death, and he was so retaliated against, y'all, for being an eyewitness in the August 3rd um, El Paso mass shooting at Walmart. He was so, because he was witnessing to what was going on in the mall, and they didn't want that. They didn't want that. They wanted this other narrative. They wanted a matrix, because they wanted a political hit job, a political, oh, this is a white supremacist kind of narrative. And that's not what it was at all. That's not what it was at all. And just very, they used unreliable sources there too, not just in Richard's case. So I think that is very, very important um, information that needs to be considered and scrutinized, and for the future of our country, for justice. And we know that the Department of Justice, who turned us down at the beginning for oversight, they absolutely knew they were covering themselves up. They were protecting the institutions. And so now we have another person. So we have CBP, we have CID, we have FBI, we have um, DES, we have um, the VA, Pablo. We also have some kind of agent. Lilani Hart is some kind of agent in there. Um, we have the generals absolutely compromised. They're absolutely compromised because Sean Bernabe was looking for Richard's remains at Christmas in 2020. Okay, they don't have all of his remains. They were looking for some more of his remains, and he was looking, and the PAO, Ali Payne, even stated that in a news interview with is it Sprint? no, it's I'll think about it. But yeah, so she admitted that that they were looking that they were working with the Department of State in Mexico looking for Richard's remains over there. So that's another corroborating testimony to Richard's remains being looked for and being looked for in the United States and in Mexico. So this is an international incident. This is a binational crime scene, and people risking their reputations, their careers, their 501c3s for Richard. Really, just for Richard, if he's just missing? No, no, y'all. It's because he's been murdered, and his murder is leads to that investigation, leads to those that orchestrated the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting. Okay? That's what that leads to. And of course, we have the connection with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and 3905 Bliss Avenue, also with the chief medical examiner, Mario Raskin Ortiz, and of course, Patrick Crucius's defense attorney, who is uh, Valenzuela. But if that's not enough for you, we have even more. We have the DHS liaison to Mexico, Jaime Corona, Agent Jaime Corona, who also indicated that Richard was deceased. And so, you know, and it goes on and on and on. So oh, what about the El Paso Police Department? What about, the sheriffs and them uh, searching our home, trying to intimidate us, and no warrant, illegal search. Um, and, they're saying it's in the army. The warrant was from the army, and the army saying, oh, the warrant's from outside the army. And, they just, everything is chaotic. If you want chaos, don't look to Darwin. That Darwin's really stupid. But you can say that the chaos is in the CID and the FBI and our agencies and in Richard's investigation. It's not only in Richard's investigation, okay? And that's why we are pursuing this. One of the reasons, of course, looking for Richard, we absolutely will not let them dehumanize him and smear him. He's our son and we want him. Uh, and, for them to try to get away with this kind of murder, um, which leads to the murder of 23 other individuals, really 24 other individuals. And I would, because of Glendon Oakley Jr., uh, absolutely the Walmart mass shooting that happened on August 3rd, which is Dallas Hart's birthday. Um, and then Angela Kachurga, uh, her husband, Alfredo, who Corchado, he works for Dallas Morning News. Who does he interview about getting an opinion about Walmart? He interviews Texas Heart. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up, right? You cannot make this stuff up. And then you have, of course, the media sweetheart. I mean, story after story after story of horrendous testimony from an unreliable source, professional criminal, absolutely a professional criminal and allowed to be a criminal. Okay, so that means, is he an FBI informant? That's what I want to know, because he's allowed to be. And that's, like with Leilani Hart, is she an FBI informant? Because she's allowed to be a criminal. Why isn't she arrested? She should be arrested. And there's no doubt in my mind, because of her notarized affidavit, she should absolutely be arrested for that. And, just the unauthorized access, her manipulation of Fort Bliss CID, um, and more and more. The DES, the manipulation of the DES. Um, yeah, and so also that arrest extends to Chris Grant, right? Ernest Christopher Grant. He should absolutely be arrested because the El Paso Police Department already said no, he did not throw those soda bottles at the shooter during the mass shooting in the Walmart. Well, okay, if he's unreliable that way and if he's a criminal, why is Governor Abbott bringing him in to discuss the future of gun control? Right? I mean, yeah, okay, come here, you professional criminal that likes to steal from people so you can buy your fancy cars, your Hummer or your Audi or whatever. Um, you know, the, this has to stop. This ridiculous criminal activity that kills people, right? Because what he was saying is so, so. I mean, you can't help but cry and shake, and it's so bad, and the media just made him a media darling and just covered it and covered it and covered it, and people actually believe what he said, you know. And the thing is when you look at Patrick Crusius, okay, when you look at Patrick Crusius, now I believe that there is enough evidence because of all the other witnesses that said there were more than one shooter, that there are other shooters out there, okay? But if you look at Patrick Crusius, who's supposed to have soda on him, but who is supposed to have carried out the most horrendous type of killings, right? At close point blank, he doesn't have a drop of blood on him. And sorry, if you're going to do what Chris Grant said, you would have, you would be a little bit dirty, right? You would be a little bit dirty, but he wasn't. He wasn't. So we have murderers out there that are not getting prosecuted. That's what I'm saying. Um, Patrick Crusius is a done deal. He is going to serve 90 life sentences in the most secure, where the most violent criminals are. That's 8,000 years. And he's going to get treatment for his severe mental health condition because we know he has autism. But there are other people that did some very, very bad things. And do I believe Chris Grant's testimony? No, I can't believe it. I can't believe it according to the law, according to the standards of investigations. I can't, because he is an unreliable source, just like Leilani Hart is, just like Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is. They have criminal backgrounds, um, long criminal records. They are unreliable sources. And just because the media, who have political alliances, political conflicts of interest of their own, are pushing, making him a media darling, a media sweetheart, trying to push his story to bring division to the people of this country, bring division to further their politics, it's all this warmongering and criminal activity. And if we have a lot of criminal activity, then we need a lot of prisons and we need a lot of law enforcement, don't we? If we have peace and we uh, develop a loving, caring uh, community, then we really don't need all of that law enforcement, right? And I lived in a time where we didn't. where there was really very, very little crime. And of course, it was in Germany. When I was a young girl in Germany, you could leave your children out in their little prams, Kinderwagen, right outside. The store, and the mothers could go in there and shop while their babies were sleeping in the pram, and they could come out and check on them, and their baby would be still right there, safe and sound. I remember that. And there was a time where you didn't have to lock your front door. I know that in Texas, out in Radaburg, you didn't have to lock your front door. There was no crime. And so, uh, these political agents that, want crime because they want war because they profit off of war. Um, they're they're bringing a lot of division with us. They're bringing a lot of division, and it's political. It's absolutely political. And I don't think that Richard knew the string that he would pull, that it would pull the August 3rd, 2019, that the people that were involved in the criminal activity that he was reporting on Fort Bliss were also behind um, the the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting organization of it and promoting it. The promoting of that. And, Donna Sifford being Customs and Border Protector's port director, I'm starting to, piece all this together where I have it memorized, is also very concerning because she's port director, Customs Border Patrol, and she's saying she's going to Walmart and she doesn't have her sidearm. I've talked to many people and they said that's ridiculous. That doesn't happen. No, no, do not buy that narrative. And so, something is up there. That needs to be scrutinized. That relationship needs to be scrutinized. The connections, the conflicts of interest, all of that needs to be scrutinized, because there seems to be some people that are participating in this, abusing their positions, abuse of power, to participate in the politics. And so they're not only weaponizing the Department of Justice and weaponizing the FBI, but they're weaponizing other agencies. It seems like it to me, for politics. For politics. And we know now that absolutely uh, there was election tampering. I'm not probably allowed to say that, with um, Yvonne Rosales' case, because absolutely that was a takedown of a duly elected district attorney and replaced with a dirty district attorney. Bill Hicks wasn't paying his taxes. He has conflicts of interest. He was accused of barentry, and I think he was even convicted of barentry. And he has a lot more that I still have to wrap my head around. And with all these lawyers, you're going to pick someone that has financial problems. You're going to pick someone with financial problems that doesn't even know how to sign their anti-bribery statement that has to be signed according to the Texas Constitution before you take your oath of office and start your job, start your prosecuting of crime, right? Yeah, that, or criminals, right? Prosecuting of criminals. So yeah, something is really messed up there. And to leave murder cases in pieces like the August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting, and also Richard's case, leave it in pieces. Do not put the pieces together to get a court trial date to bring to justice, and accountability the criminals. Um, they were leaving it in pieces and only being playing politics. So says Loretta Lynn Hewitt, and she's not just a nobody either. So here we have an attorney. Here we have, El Paso Police and the CID and the FBI and the DHS and CBP and um, yeah, I'm the Army leadership. Um, so very clear. Richard is deceased, and we need to get accountability. We need to know who the murderer is, and we need to get accountability. And that's really very, very important um, to move forward. So please share this. Thank you so much, and um, we will be back tomorrow, God willing.